Good evening, folks. Well, some rather intriguing and worrying moves being made by the EU court. Shocker. So we're out, or are we out? But it does seem to be a move by the EU as a body to remove France of its military, because of course France has a supremely powerful military and they are well versed in colonisation, as is the British Empire, which is the Holy Roman Empire, remember that, through the Hanoverians, the Germans, or rather the Prussians. So it would appear, because in April this year, the French military warned Macron of a potential coup. That was down to the Islamisation of France. So, of course, the French military have been posturing in this respect, and the EU doesn't like it. So, the EU court has given itself, or continued the power it gave itself in the 60s, when it ruled that all EU law would be binding on all EU member states, have now decided that the military in all EU states is now going to be subject to the Working Time Directive. What's that all about, you might say? Well, militaries operate by being a military. They're 24/7, 365 days a year, every single one of them on call, 24 hours, 365. That's the way it is. And they're not just on call, they have no choice, that's their duty. So there is no Working Time Directive as a maxim in a military. It is obviously, it's broken up into a day's work, evening, blah, blah. Well, of course, what I'm saying is, there can't be any rules and regulations. I can't do that, I might hurt myself. Or I can't do that, I'm meeting my mum at 8. No, it's not happening if you want to run a strong military force. So, subject to a Working Time Directive, what does that break down as? Well, basically, they've set a whole raft of rules in to the military that is generally used for the general population, office, civil systems, etc. You know, where you're on hourly time, you book your time off, etc., etc., etc. But they're trying to add limitations on night work for the military. Well, what? So, sorry, Sarge, we can't do defence tomorrow until 10 o'clock. Well, yes, that's not going to work, is it? And then a mandatory 11-day rest. So, you could be halfway through combat and half your team clocked off for a brew because they're on the Working Time Directive, like Civvy Street. So it's a nonsense, but given that we know the military were posturing for warning Macron he might face a military coup, obviously the military is on alert anyway, and this is definitely a move to undermine the French military on the back of, I would suggest, that promise. But there is another angle to this as well, and that is, okay, so they're bigging up this big Third World War extravaganza that could take place, but when you look at documents such as Quiet Wars, these kind of documents, which have been around for a long time, and I've versed myself with them quite a few times, again last year, but you can see from the sort of overriding narrative of all the tech that they're using, all the patents, etc., all the nonsense that goes with that kind of a grid, that the actual, I wouldn't say end game, but the commencement game, as in when they want to really ensure they've got full control over the entire global population that's left. All nations, rather than suffering necessarily an outside nation threat, all security is going to be moving in a manner so that it's the security, the elite behind, and that's how they're going to mincemeat, Hunger Game, everything up. I mean, that's down the line, but that's the sort of plan of action. We know they like to do this manhunting stuff anyway, for real. They do it. The top level, that's how they do their sport. So if you're bothered about Fox, nah, just a show. The real hunt is for humans. Right? So they like to play that game. So don't kid yourself that they wouldn't have that planned for these little regions that they've set up everywhere. Being locally policed, locally 5G control, so they can zap you in your locality, blah, 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 especially if you're graphened up and now a magnet. So, you know, it's like it's just all building up. But the main thrust of the narrative is that the future is going to be all about the state and its forces, or rather the corporate state and its forces, against the populations in each nation. And you look at this move by the EU court, yes, we have good reasoning in the sense that they've been threatening perhaps a coup. That could be the cover for what it's really about, which is to just domesticise what is our military capacity, but take it off the military role, so they're just basically super police with a lot more toys, but they're on the clock, blah de blah. Do you know what I'm saying there? Does that make sense? Does that compute as a strategy that I can pretty much say absolutely that they are now operating? You can see it moving in that way. Over here you've got the SIS, all the private security, under G4S, under Serco, etc., etc. All can be called upon for the British Empire, yeah, on England, against England. So I don't know how that pans out, to be fair, in here, because of course we're no longer in Europe, but I did have a little look at the rules, and what the EU has done is completely contrary to any part of the treaties. Because they just decided to take this power all on themselves, and nobody appears to be getting, to sort of negotiate this. They've just decided that's it, that's what we're doing, and suck on that, Mr. Frog, because obviously it is aimed at the French military, because it's a very powerful military, and these men are very well trained. So I just thought that might be something you might want to ponder and just keep your little beady eyes on it. So whether we are going to actually start moving into that kind of an arena, we have to keep our eyes out. But I would be surprised if the British Army, or what should be the English and Scottish Army, let's be quite honest, and Irish, because of course the Welsh are English whether they like it or not, and they've only ever been Welsh since 1707. So I'm sorry, I can't take it seriously, and therefore I'm saying England, you Welsh can be involved if you want, I have no problem. But if you want to be isolated off your own, and because you've got funny signs with a funny language on, so be it as well. So I'm going to keep badgering you until you stop scracking like bitches and grow the fuck up and realise that we're all on the same landmass. It's the same grass in Wales as it is here. Your mushrooms are not as good as they are in Lancashire, but that's your problem. So all I'm saying to you is this: same land, same colour, you do speak a funny language, but you need to get a grip. You know, this division crap is no good. You know, jocks have sussed that yonks ago. That's why there's more jocks living in England than they've ever lived in Scotland, or even been born in Scotland, you know. Because most of them in Scotland were kicked out of North anyway, so, you know, by right, they're actually English, as same as Welsh. But I can understand why they got pissed off and wanted to wear kilts and sporrans and make that racket with that bag of wind stuff. My head fella, he were into all that. He were a bloody pipe band drummer and then leader job. honestly, them bagpipes, it's just... No, sorry. It didn't appeal to me when we used to march on parade ground either. I just used to say it's shit music. And it is shit music, I'm sorry to say. There's no beat, no life to it. It's just up there, data. There's nothing going on down here. You know what I'm saying? Where you get that feel of it. It's up there kind of noise. Anyway, that said, I've nothing against bagpipes. I've nothing against Scottish people or indeed Welsh people. Or, well, I've never called Irish. I'm blood Irish, so English, of course, because that's where I was born and dragged up. But, you know, so it's just standard. But yeah, so it's it. So keep your eyes on that, chaps and chapesses, because they're being very naughty. And if they can do that to France and be successful, oh dear heck, pure Europe is going to be pretty much screwed, because they're not the best at coming together in wars, are they, rest of Europe? I mean, like France and us idiots here, they were always sucking into it back in the day. But, you know. So I just thought that were interesting. I thought worthy of a titchy tiny little vid, just to keep you amused and let you know that I'm still fantastic and amazing with my new gigs on. Have you noticed? They're massive. I don't know whether I like them. I think I'm a cross between Ronnie Corbett and Elton John. Although Elton John is fat and ugly, so obviously I don't look like him. I might have a gap. I don't have his money, but then I wouldn't want to do what he's had to do to have what he has today. I'm far happier sitting here in front of me iMac talking bollocks to any of you guys that want to listen. So anyway, that's pretty much it, and I'll say till the next time.